So it's all good.
Nice. So this is the continuity of the last workshop. So if you guys can just log on to your Google account, we're going to keep going. So you guys can go ahead and open up your instance. I'll just start mine because it was closed. Do, 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 do. So how are you guys? Doing well?
Yep, we're doing good. How are you?
Awesome.
Good to see you.
So now we're all at the same stage, right? You guys have your node ready, a small monitoring tool, and you're ready to use the CLI, right?
I would say Bob's still catching up on the current tip of the chain, but is very quickly making their way there
Yeah,
this
we'll,
moment.
we'll wait for him to be fully synchronized before registering or doing other stuff. Your node is running, Bob. That's okay. It's synchronizing as we speak.
Yep, still going.
Okay, good. That doesn't hold us from creating our credentials. So if you guys don't have any idea of what I'm doing right now, you can go ahead and go on able slash, not slash, but dash pool.io. And if you look here on the three little bars, or if you do have a full screen, it's in document. You click on that and you look for Cardinal CLI study sheet. So first what we'll do, if you haven't already, we will create a directory where you will hold all your keys and stake keys and registration stuff and all your certificates. And I'm going to call it whatever, Sancho keys. And I will get into it. Whoop, no. Sancho keys. Just like this. If there's anything again that's not going well for you, let me know. And what we will do is we will create our payment keys. So first, where is it? We have to find it. And in the Cardinal CLI here, you can go ahead and find those keys in Cardinal CLI Conway address, key hash. Actually, it's not key hash, it's key gen. My bad. It's right there. So this is where we're going to create our keys. So the command is cardinal CLI Conway address keygen. And then you have those flags. And these ones, if... Oh, I didn't explain that first, right? How does that work? All those flags and things and brackets, right? What is it? So here, I do have an example where you can see that angle brackets, they define the type of information to provide. So in every commands, you have, for example, here, you have angle brackets, and that means that for spending transaction in reference, you have to provide a transaction in. So it tells you pretty much what you have to provide. And in our case, here, what we need to provide would be the name of the file for each one of our keys, but I'm going to get there soon. That's for the angle brackets. The parentheses, they represent a mandatory option. So if you see parentheses in the options of your command, you have to use that. It is mandatory. So you cannot skip it, or else you're going to get an error message. Square brackets, they are non-mandatory options, but sometimes you do need them. But if you don't use them, it's okay. And the little separator that you see here is a separator. So it means pretty much or. What I mean by that, for example, here, Cardinal CLI address keygen, you see there's a couple of non-mandatory options. And in this case, you can mention the type of key that you want, a normal key, extended key, or a Byron key. So it's pretty much non-mandatory, and you have to mention normal key or an extended key or Byron key. But since it's not mandatory, we're not going to use it. By default, it's going to be a normal key. So again, getting back to Conway, because that's the governance era, our command is going to be, actually, I can do that. There you go. Oh, it's going to be easier like this, I think. Yeah, so I kind of explained it all. So if I want to generate a payment key, well, a set of payment key, which consists of a private key and a verification key, I'm going to use the cardinal-CLI Conway address keygen. And you could actually, hold on, I'm just going to change that keyboard. There you go. You can leave it all on the same line, but I usually like to change line like this. And what do we need now as a flag? We need verification key file. All right, so let's write it. Verification key file. And I need a name for my verification key file, and I'm going to use payment.vkey for verification key. I change line again, and I do need to mention the signing key file. Signing key file. And I'm going to use payment.skey for signing key. And this is it. I now have my payment key pairs. So we're going to carry on. Now we have our payment keys and our payment signing key and verification key. We're going to generate the stake. I'm trying
Like
to...
I should be holding off on this, right? Because my node is still loading, right?
No, you can create your keys. You do not need a running node for that. And this is something that on mainnet you will have to do on a cold environment. So you do not need to be synchronized to generate your keys or to build transaction. But to interact directly with the blockchain, for example, if you want to know, if you want to query the UTXO of your address, you need a running node. If you want to submit transactions to the mainnet, you need to be synchronized as well, and you need a running node. But for everything we did right now, you can do it right now. There's no need to have a synchronized node to generate your payment key pairs.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm not going to. And again, if you guys have the Cardinal CLI study sheet, you can follow up. Here, actually, I might want to zoom out on this. Oh, there. That's a little better. I pretty much explain everything from the command itself. The flags, what you have to write, payment V key and S key. That's a standard name, but you can use your own. That's what you should see normally on your terminal. And then we're going to do the same with the stake address, which is mentioned here. Stake address. So we have here Cardinal CLI Conway stake address, and we want to generate keys, so it's keygen. And here the flags that we have, there's one that's optional, key output format. You can have a specific output format for your key. We're not going to use it. And we only need to mention again the verification key file, a name, and the signing key file and another name for stake key pairs. So let's do it. Cardinal CLI Conway stake dash address. And we need to mention keygen. Changing lines. verification key file. And I'm going to call it stake.vkey. And the next one is our signing key file. And I'm going to call it stake.skey for signing key, just like that. And you got your stake key pairs. So what we want to do after this, we need an address. We need an address to send some fake data on it from the faucet. So we don't necessarily need to do that, but that's what we're going to do. We want to participate in the staking protocol, and we also want to delegate the money that's inside our address to a DREP and a stake pool, or to ourselves as a DREP in this case. So we need to mix our stake verification key and our, well, not mix, but derive it into an address. Our stake verification key and our payment verification key. So it's going to be Cardano CLI Conway address build. And here's the thing. You can build an address only with your payment keys. But if you do that, you won't be able to participate to the staking protocol or the delegation to a DREP, because it's just an address that's generated from a payment key. So we don't want that. We want to use again those two all together, right? So here in the build option of that command, you got here parentheses, which means it's required. So it is required to provide at least a payment verification key string, or a payment verification key file, or a payment script file, because you can have a multi-signature credential. It is possible. Again, here you can also provide, and it is optional because it is not required to also include your stake key pairs, but we do want to use it for the reason I mentioned before. So we're going to use the stake verification key file here. That is not required. And what is required here, we have to mention the network. So in our case, it's testnet magic number 4, which is the number for SanchoNet. Correct me if I'm wrong, Johnny. I think that the preview testnet magic is 2 and the pre-prod is 1, or it's the opposite? Yeah. So you have to mention on which chain, well, actually the chain you're using pretty much. So it's important to mention. And a out file would be the name of your address file, pretty much. So let's do it. Cardano CLI Conway, and it is address here. So let's type it. Address key. No, actually it's build. Build here. And I'm going to change line and use a flag payment verification key file like this. And I'm going to mention the name of my verification key file of my payment key, which is payment.vkey. So I'll change line like this. And now I need to include my stake verification key. So let's do it. Stake verification key file. And we called it stake.vkey. Just like this. And I need to mention here my testnet magic, which is 4 for SanchoNet. And then finally, the name of the file that I want for my address. I'm going to call it payment .addr for address. Just like that. Do you want me to maybe, I could actually probably just maybe send it in the chat, right? Would that be a good idea? So you guys can just copy paste it.
I send every stage of that in the chat, start to finish. So the first command, the second command, the third command.
That's correct. Good idea. Good idea.
In separate chunks.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course do a little cat there of the address that you just outputted so people can see the address that was generated. But I'm sure you're going to do that next.
Yeah, that's actually something that I will do right now. So here, let me just give me a moment. I will give you the commands. And this is the first one. If you're looking for the right chat, that's the actual, that's our channel's chat. So the stream channel chat. So here's the first command, and this is the second command. There you go. And the third one that we just did is right there. There you go. So if you go at the top right corner of each command, you have a little button that you can use to copy into your clipboard. So you can just copy paste it into your instance and it's gonna do it. Sorry, gotta cut out. Oh, okay. AG was leaving. I think he's gonna watch the video. Yeah, he is. All right. Is that okay for you, Bob, so far?
No,
Okay.
I am not okay. I'm still at the G Live view from before. I was wondering how to get into how to
Just
get
press
my.
Q.
Press
Q for quit.
Q for quit.
Okay, yeah, I'm out of that. Snap install. From that data page. Yeah, I got out of that. And
Yeah.
I'm just at my command line now, and I want to get to the first line that you have there, the Sancho keys and Chrono CLI Conway
Yeah.
add-on.
You can go ahead and create yourself a directory for that. Don't put them all in your home directory. So I suggest that you do mkdir and then you do a space and you name. Yeah, just like exactly, just like Johnny mentioned.
Okay, the Sancho keys. Okay.
Yeah, you create yourself a directory where you will have all your keys. And this is like the binary part of the keys, right? Because they're all separate. And normally that's not the way it is necessarily within your wallet that you usually use. Yep, that is correct. So you create yourself a directory and then you do the command that I gave you and it should give you an address. If I do, for example, I'm going to echo it because I just want it to be like under.
What? Why? Why do this?
Because I wanted it to happen to be here under. So
why overcomplicate it, man? Just
I
type
know,
CAT.
I know, but when you do it with CAT like this,
Yeah.
it's going to print it like that and gonna have my
Oh, it
corner
puts
right
it
next to it.
in
Yeah,
line. All
like
right.
this
Well,
it is.
fair enough.
It
It's a
is
little bit better
prettier.
formatted. I appreciate that. That is nice.
That was considering, like, it's nicely printed there. Anyway, yeah. So this
That's
is
fair.
this should be your address, which again derives both your stake verification key and your payment keys into an address. So when you're going to put ADA in there, it's going to be usable for staking protocol, delegating your voting power to DREPs, and also act as your actual wallet that you can use and send money wherever you want using your payment signing keys. So here's the thing. You got one address. To delegate to a stake pool or a DREP or to withdraw money from your reward account, you're going to need your stake signing key. And for anything that is related to the money that's inside the wallet, like sending money, registering a certificate, anything that involves removing money or unlocking a UTXO from your address, you would need to have your payment signing key. We're gonna get there. Is that okay with you, Bob?
I think so. I'm gonna put in. I put these three things in, so I have up. So I have the out file payment address as my last line, and then I'm gonna put in the echo $ parentheses cat
No,
payment
no, no,
address.
no. You don't have to do that. It was just me. Like you can just go into it using Nano if you want to, or just print it. Cat
It's fine.
payment dot.
As long as you get the start and end of it all selected and copied it to put into the faucet
Yeah.
website to get your test data.
Exactly. With no mistake, because if I copy this like that and I accidentally include the M of Mike, you might not see the money in my wallet. So again, like Johnny mentioned, if you're at this step, you can just select that, copy it. Whoops. Yeah. Anyway, it's still working. You copy it, and since we're in the test net, we're going to ask for money from the faucet, and the address is SanchoNet/faucet. And it's going to get you straight to that faucet. And I'm going to share this actually here in the chat. So once you're there, you can grab your address, copy it, and you paste it right there. Whoops. Yeah, right. Let me do that again.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie. There you go.
All right.
And you mentioned I'm not a robot. So now we need bosses. That's a boss. That's there's a boss. That should be good. I'm not a robot. Yay! So now I can submit, and it's going to send me 100,000 to my address. This here is to pay. This amount here is to pay for the fees. So again, you have a reference here, the transaction ID of the faucet sending you money. And here, that's the UTXO with its index. So normally, if my node is synchronized, is it? Let's see. All right, so it is synchronized. We just switched the puck. Great. I get back to my wallet. And I want to know how much money I got. So again, if you want to look at the doc, you will now query UTXO from your payment with stake. I called it payment with stake in the doc, but in here I called it payment.address. And again, if you go through this, it tells you exactly why we don't use which commands and its flag, and why do we use some of them. In this case here, I'm using the address. So I think we're going to do the same pretty much. This is a query command. And this is on the Conway side. So let's go to query. And Cardinal Conway query, we're going to, what do we need? We need the UTXO, the unspent transaction outputs of our address, right? So let's write it. Cardinal CLI Conway query UTXO. Change line. And now, what do I need to mention? The socket path is not mandatory because you, I don't know if you guys, no, we didn't do that. Maybe we should add it in the,
Yeah, you gotta export that somewhere to save it so it references it.
That's correct. That is correct. Okay, so I'm going to do it. Why not? I think I haven't done it here. Let's see. So go back to your home directory And then we will get into our .bash rc file like this. And might just like write it down. Hold on. Yeah, for you guys. cd home and then sudo nano dot bash rc like this. Stupid keyboard. Okay, there. Like that. And if you go at the very bottom, actually I wrote it. Great, it's right there. That's cool. I'm gonna paste it here. So you guys just have to write this into that file. There you go. So what we do, we export the path to the Cardinal node socket, well, Cardinal socket path, and we mention where we've put it. Where is our node.socket? And by doing that, we won't have ever to mention it again in every command that requires the node.socket path to communicate with the blockchain. Okay.
I'm not sure if I see that.
What's that?
I'm not sure if I see that.
Where are you at?
I'm at the sudo nano dot bash rc.
Are you in your home directory?
Yeah, I was.
And what did it show?
And it shows, how do I explain this?
It shows nothing.
No, it shows like it shows all the letters, stuff, all that information that you were just showing, but
Yeah.
it doesn't, I don't see that export line.
No, of course you have to go at the very bottom and you have to paste it there.
Oh,
Although
gotcha.
in your case, Bob, you have a different path to your socket file, so I have put your version in the chat.
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you, Johnny. Yeah, again, I don't know how you guys called your your Cardinal source file, or yeah, in my case it's Sancho dash source, but like Johnny mentioned, you called yours Cardinal dash source. So let me know when it's done. When it's done, you can save it by, just give me a second. There you go. You can just save it by typing Control X. And then when it's done, you do source dot bash rc to make sure that your shell is going to consider your change.
I'm sure this is well understood, but when you do press Control.X, you also select Y for yes to confirm you're saving, and then Y again to confirm you're writing over the existing file, and then do the source dot bash rc.
It's Y for yes, and then enter, I think, for yeah. Just pretty much save it.
Got it.
You got it? All right. So now we're good. Normally, I could go back to this and go Cardinal CLI Conway query. And then I want the UTXO of my address, which is mentioned here. Then I change line. Socket path, I don't need to mention it anymore. The Cardinal mode, I don't need that as well. It is not required. Oh, here, something is required. So it's either the whole UTXO or the address that we're going to use or the transaction in. I'm going to use the address in this case. So it's going to be -- address, right? And I want the $, which means I want the result of cat payment.address. So the input here is just the result of what's in our address file, which is the address pretty much. So I change line like this. What else do I need? I need to mention the network. So it's testnet magic 4. There you go. What else? This is not mandatory. Not going to use it. The output, either JSON or text, I'm not going to use that as well. And out file, do I want my UTXO in a file? I'm going to say right now no. But if you want to get your UTXO to eventually transfer that into your call environment to build your own transaction, then you might want to have an out file for that. But right now I'm not going to use it. So it's going to print directly on my terminal the result of that command. Oh, hold on. That was a... What did I forget? $sign payment address.
I don't think you needed a new line, was the
No, I'm not in my key directory.
Oh well, that would be a bad thing. Yes,
That would totally
wouldn't be able to
explain.
actually pull.
Okay,
Yep.
so let's do that again. And oh, look at that. I got money. So this is the UTXO. There you go. Okay, as you can see, I'm gonna put that there. Here, this is the actual transaction ID. So my UTXO hash is the transaction ID pretty much. And the index here is 0. Because there's only one output pretty much to what they did. So no, I'm not going to get into that. It's going to be too hard to explain. The faucet has many UTXOs. I'm still explaining it, but anyway. So the goal is to have money. You pretty much have, at this point, 100,000 fake ADA in your wallet. Bob, you're probably not going to be able to see this right away if your node is not synchronized.
Okay.
But the faucet,
Okay, so don't worry about it.
the faucet part, you can submit on the faucet here your address. It's still going to work, but since your node is not up to date, if I can say it like that, if the history of the transaction is not up to date as of today, then you won't be able to see it because it's a transaction that has been done as soon as you click on submit. And if your node is not synchronized, then you won't see it. But as soon as it is synchronized, you should see that you have your money.
Okay, this is my first time actually doing that, so it's a good part of the learning process.
Yeah. See, I like to see it as a timeline, right? So if the Genesis block of SanchoNet started like a month ago, then you have to catch up to today with your blockchain. So a transaction that's going to be done today, you won't see it right away if you're not synchronized, if your node is not up to date, right? So mine is, which means that this is the reason why I see this, because I am synchronized. Okay, so we got our money. We have our money. This is great. So what do we do now? LS. What do I have here? I have my stake key pairs, I have my payment key pairs, and I do, oh, here, sorry. My payment key pairs, and I do have an address, wallet address. But now I want to participate as a DREP, and I want to delegate to a stake pool. So I will need to register my stake credentials on chain to be able to use it to delegate to stake pools and to DREPs. Because if I look on the blockchain itself for my stake credentials, I won't be able to see it. This is a query here, and you're going to look for stake address info. So Cardano CLI Conway query, Cardano CLI Conway query, and we want to have the stake address info here. Stake address info. And again, I'm going to show you socket path not required because it's already in our bash RC file. The mode, I don't care. The address, need to mention that. Oh, actually, no, I don't have a stake address. This is sad. Okay, I need that. I thought I could do it with a... Yeah, we need a stake address. Are you okay, Bob? We're going to carry
Yes.
on? Yes? Okay. Something I didn't mention. We have our payment address for everything that is payment related. But if you want to eventually withdraw money from the stake part of your stake address, you need a stake address. So to do that, we're going to build our stake address. So the command is right here. Cardano CLI Conway stake address build, and all we need to mention, we need to derive an address from our verification key file and mention the network. That's it. That's all we need to do. So we'll do it. Cardano CLI Conway stake address like this. And then, oh, I forgot something. My bad. Stake address build. Sorry about it. And we need to -- mention the stake verification key file, which we're going to use to derive an address from it, which is stake.vkey. What else do we need?
After, Mike, after you do the stake address build and then space and then that slash, how do you get to the second line?
The slash itself
Oh,
gets you, the slash itself gets you to the second line. You press enter. When you do,
wonderful.
yes, that's what it's for. It pretty much, it acts like it was all in the same line. I could have just skipped that and instead of changing line, just keep writing down -- stake or whatever. I could put all that in a single line. But since I want it to look pretty and, for the sake of the stream right now, if I keep going, it's going to go past that and we won't be able to, it won't be pretty. So this is why I just use this so it looks prettier and maybe, hopefully, easier to understand if it's piled up like this, I guess. So again, stake verification key file, and now we need to mention the network, which is testnet magic 4. But this time I want the out file, which is not required. If I don't do that, it's going to just print it on my terminal, but I want to save it into a file because I'm going to use it later. So I want to out file that into something that I would call stake.addr for address, our stake address. Enter. So now I do have a stake address, which is
Okay. Let's see.
right there. So this is only meant pretty much for stuff like withdrawing your reward from your staking, or actually you don't even need it to delegate because you can do it with your verification key. But if you want it, no, you do need your verification key for that. It's mostly to withdraw money from your from that address, pretty much when you receive reward from your stake pool, or to get information about it if it is registered. So our stake credentials are not registered on chain. So we cannot, if I wanted to right now, I cannot delegate to a stake pool or to a DREP because my stake credentials are not registered on chain. As you can see here, if I use the query address, stake address info, I'm asking the blockchain to give me the information about that stake address. The output's going to be nothing if I do it. So Cardano CLI, just real quick, Conway, I want to query the stake address info here. And I'm going to mention the address, ADDRSS, like this. And I want the result of cat stake.addr, which is our address file. And then I mentioned the testnet magic 4. And too bad, no auth file, just like this. Then I get nothing because we're not registered on chain. So we need to do that. So what do? We're going to look for, it is a stake address command. So we'll look for stake address here, Cardinal CLI stake address. And if we look into all the commands, I got something called registration certificate right here. So let's do that. Cardinal CLI Conway stake address and registration dash certificate. Let's see what's in there. I want to register my stake credentials. So what do I need that is required here? It's either the stake verification key string or the stake verification key file that we're going to use, or a stake script file if you're a multi-signature stake address, which I'm not going to talk about because it's too much, or the stake address. So if you wanted to, you could just mention your stake address. But we do own the stake verification key file. We're going to use that. But if I wanted to, I could use my stake address. Okay, and here the key register deposit amount, which is how much you have to deposit to register your stake key. And in our case, it is 2 ADA. You need a 2 ADA deposit on mainnet and on testnet to be able to register your stake key. And that's the reason for this is that we don't want a Sybil attack to attack the network, like pretty much me and Johnny did with the with another certificate that I'm not going to talk about, but it was funny. Anyway, I don't want to get off track. So we need to register it. We need to create a registration certificate that we then will submit on chain through a transaction. So first, the certificate. We need to mention here the stake verification key file, like mentioned here in that flag, and the name of our verification key file, which is stake.vkey. Change a line. What else? The key registration deposit amount. What is it? Key registration deposit amount. It says non-mandatory here, which is kind of weird if you ask me, but I would guess that this could be 0, but I don't know why this is not mandatory. That's the only reason that comes to mind, because the value could be 0, so if it is 0, it would not theoretically be required. It's just a guess. Anyway, the deposit amount, I said it was 2 ADA, but in those commands you have to mention every amount in loveless. So 1 ADA is 1 million loveless. So 2 ADA would be 2 million loveless. So I had to that 6 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which means 2 ADA. Oops, my bad. Change the line. And I need to mention out file. I gave it a name, so I'm going to call it stake stake registration dot cert. It's a certificate. Again, the name that you're gonna have to use, it's up to you, right? But I just decided I'm gonna call it like that.
There are some naming conventions in
Yes, I
different
know.
tutorials, but it's not really that valid. It's not really that important. Don't worry.
I'm just going. Oh, hold on. I got it here. Oh, they called it registration cert. Okay, so I'm gonna post it here in the chat, just in case you guys don't want to break your head. What's written in the chat though, it doesn't mention 2HEDA here, but instead the input that is mentioned here is another Cardano CLI command that queries the amount from the protocol parameter, or actually from the governance state, but I don't want to get into that now. It's
Yeah, well, yeah. They're doing a live check of the live system, so you're not just doing it from a static tutorial that might be out of date in case it changes.
yes, exactly. And also this command wouldn't work from a cold environment because it requires a query command that needs a running node to build. So if you want to build your stake registration certificate from an offline environment, you should know the exact amount here. Yeah. Okay. So now what's next? We need to submit it. All right, let's do that. So, okay, what we're gonna use. I'm not gonna go through, I think that's best that I don't go through all of it because there's a lot of flags in the build transaction. But the only thing I'm gonna say is that if you look in the documentation that I showed you, the Cardano CLI cheat sheet, with also with the study sheets that's provided with it, you will know the difference between the build commands and the build raw command. The build raw was meant for cold environment, and the build command requires a running node for it to work, because this one here will automatically calculate the fees of your transaction that you need, and not this one, right? And to do so, you need a running node on this one here. So right now I do have a node. My keys are in the same on the same server, which is from a security standpoint very bad. So don't do that on mainnet again. But in my case, I can use this command, and this is what I'm going to do because it will automatically calculate the fees for me. But again, in the documentation that I provided, you will know how to use this one instead and calculate the fees by yourself. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going
Okay.
to... Oh, you got a question, Bob?
No, I said okay. That sounds good.
All right. So I'm going to share with you the command to build the transaction. Yeah, and of course the certificate file, you can use your own name for that. Again, mine is different. So I'm going to have to switch that name. Here it is. I don't know if you guys see it well from the chat. I might just actually, I'm going to write it manually. So it's Cardano CLI Conway era. That's a transaction build, like here, Conway transaction build. I'm going to change line. I'm going to mention here the testnet magic 4, like that. Also, I need to mention witness override, which is that's the number of signatures that you will provide with that transaction. So in our case, we're submitting a registration of a stake key. So we need to sign it with both our stake key to validate that you are the owner of that certificate, and also the payment key, because to submit something on chain, you do need to provide a transaction which would cost money. So since you have to get money out of your wallet and then back in, you need to provide a payment signature. So it is going to be 2 in our case. So witness override. Oh, there's 2R. My bad. override 2. We're providing 2 witnesses. Oops. Like this. And now the next part is the transaction in. In this case, we need to provide the UTXO and the index of our payment wallet. So you get many options there, right? What you can do is actually, should I show it this way? Yeah, I'm going to show it this way. The easy part would be to use the command that I shared you that just pretty much runs the Cardano CLI query UTXO command as an input to this, right? You can do that. Or if you want to do it manually, give me a second. We're just going to open that. There you go, like that. If I would want to do it manually, and just remove all this, which is the command I told you about here, I could here do a query like I just did before, a query of the UTXO right there. Conway query UTXO of my payment address, which holds 100,000. So I would need here, I would need this, the transaction hash. So I mentioned the transaction hash and its index. Can we see it? There it is. Okay. That's the transaction hash and the index, which is 0. So here I got the transaction hash and I do an hashtag and the index 0. So this is what I need to provide. Every time you get money inside your wallet, there's a new UTXO that creates. So if later you get more money inside your wallet, you can have many UTXOs. But as long as you spend one that has enough money to pay for the deposit, for example, in our example, we're good because we have 100,000. So right, so this would be the maybe more complicated way, but that's what it is required as an input. The transaction hash, the UTXO, and the index here.
Mike, can you put that last command that you did that got you that address? This is the UTXO. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull that up, right? Because my node isn't fully synchronized yet, right?
That is correct. And since it is not fully synchronized, you do not know yet what is the UTXO of your transaction. And on top of that, you won't be able to submit it on chain because you need a synced node for that. You need to be up to date because if you try to submit a transaction somewhere in the history that is not today, there's nobody's gonna, it won't be included into a block. You need a synchronized node for that. So just wait, and it is recorded anyway. Hey John, hey, it's Jonah. Jonah.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
How are you, sir? I miss you.
Yeah. My son's soccer season ended, so I have Thursdays are starting to open up again.
Nice.
I'm glad you're still doing it. You're in here kicking tires. It looks good. And Johnny, what's up, man? He's there.
Yeah, he's there. He's just being silent because I was explaining this real quick.
Yeah, I was in another window. Hello.
Actually, I was.
Everything's fine.
I was hoping to do more than that, but I know it might sound boring, but I think it's important for everyone to understand exactly what these command does. And I could have just like go with, copy paste this and then you copy paste that. And after this, you just copy paste this. But I like people to understand what's going on. So this is why it's long and boring. Anyway. So now we're at the part where we register our certificate address. So here's the command. again. What else? I got my UTXO. The change address is, of course, in our UTXO. In a UTXO pattern, you do spend all of it. So if you use that as an input, the entirety of the 100,000 is going to be in the transaction. So you do have two outputs to that, right? And actually, the first output would be the registration of your certificate. And the second one would be your change address. That's right there. So, right, you need to mention a change address. Where do you want the money or what's left of it to go? So you want it back into your payment address. Unless you really like somebody like Johnny, and I'm going to say, like, yeah, Johnny, give me your address. So I'll send you all the rest of the money.
What do you want me to do? Give you an address? What address?
Not going to get there. But that's the nice part about UTXO. That everyone goes crazy about with the TPS and stuff. If I wanted to, I could mention more transaction out. Like I want to send $5 to this guy and $10 to this other guy and just go like this on and on and on and on until I reach like the transaction size limit. And it could be up to, I believe, probably 300 to 400 different UTXOs. So in one transaction, you can send money to like 300 person at the same time if you wanted to. That's the beauty of the UTXO. But in our case, again, getting off track, we're not doing that. We just want to register our stake key. So here, the registration, the certificate file is our registration. Oh, actually, that's not the right name. I called mine differently. Mine is called stake-register, just like this. There you go. So I'm going to paste this here, and it's going to give me, since it's a transaction build and not a build raw, it's going to give me the fees. So I don't need to calculate it. At the next step, I'm going to paste it in the chat again. And our next step is to sign our transaction. So I'm going to clear that. And now here, that's Cardinal CLI Conway transaction sign command, which is mentioned. It's in transaction sign. It's right there. Here. So I have to provide my transaction body file, which is required, of course. Transaction raw. That's what we just did. If you look at the command, everything we've did, the UTXO in and our outputs as well, as much as the certificate file, registration cert, we have put all that into a file that we call transaction raw in the last command that we did, if you look at it. So it is required. We need to mention our signing key file. We need to sign our transaction. So with our two witnesses, which are the payment signing key and the stake signing key. Also mention the network we're using, and we're going to put all that into a file that's called transaction signed, that we then are going to submit on chain by typing Cardinal CLI again. Transaction, oh no, it's a Conway. I'm gonna stay in Conway era. Conway transaction submit. And all we need to mention here that is required, I don't care about all that, is the network and the transaction file itself. So my network is testnet-magic4, and the name of my transaction file is transaction.sign. So transaction file, transaction.signed. And if I press enter, I should see, yay, it is on chain. It is on chain. So if you remember well, I did a query on chain to see my stake address info. And it gave me an output no, like nothing, because I didn't register it. But now we just did register it. So normally if I run that command again with the same address that I did before, I'm gonna try to look for it. Stake address registration, build, right there, stake address info. Oh, I didn't. Okay, never mind. I'll just do it again. Cardinal CLI Conway. That's a query command, and I want my stake dash address dash info. I mention the address itself, which is the result of my stake dot address that I want information on, and the network, which is testnet magic 4. Do I need anything else? No, I don't. So normally it should give me an output right there. I am registered on chain. But as you can see here, I'm not delegated to a stake pool, and I am not yet delegated to a DREP. So this is going to be it for today. I've passed an hour already. But, we're slowly but surely getting there. And eventually, where we're getting to, I'm going to eventually get to the point where I will explain to you when all this is done, you're going to know exactly how to create your DREP signing keys. You're going to have DREP key pairs just like these ones. Payment key pairs, you have stake key pairs, you're going to have DREP key pairs as well that you're going to use to sign transactions the same way we did every time. So you're going to get used to those commands because every time you do something on chain, you have to build a transaction. When we're going to register our DREP, you're going to build a transaction to do it and sign it. When we're going to do a vote, we're going to build a vote file with our vote, and then you're going to have to, again, build a transaction and submit it on chain. And you're going to need those keys, those signing keys to sign for those transactions. Depending on what.
And all of this is what's going on in the background of your software, Hot Wallet.
Exactly.
They're doing that for you.
Yes, that is correct.
Can I make one observation a mistake that I made that I would like to share, Mike, in this situation?
Sure.
So the first time I did this, I wanted to distinguish the names of my keys. So I renamed them like my name payment.skey or my name or some name. And I realized in hindsight that that's not really good because if, for instance, you wrote a script that allows you to automate the signing process, but because the nomenclature of my keys was not just generic, I couldn't use your script. So that was something.
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
And somewhat ironically, during this very session, he went off the tutorial name of the certificate file for registration. Just stick to the tutorial names, as John says here. It's
That's
much easier for people because then they'll be compatible with scripts.
That's correct. These names, guys, they've been standardized, if I can say it like that. And the thing is, if you use the same names, it's going to be easier for you eventually if you want to use other people's scripts. Because what we're doing right now is like the very raw binary part of what you should learn. But after that, you can use other people's scripts that are going to actually run those commands for you. But they're also going to use the standardized name of the credentials. So if you change those names, which is all right, you have to consider the fact that those scripts are not necessarily going to work with your environment if you do so. Okay, so this is it for now.
I I think the official term for it is a naming convention.
Naming convention. Yes, thank you. Maybe I can share a link about that. I think on SanchoNet I'm going to share it in the comments of the video. There is, I saw it somewhere. I know it is there. File naming convention in the tutorial. And here you can see everything about it. Suggested name, drep.skeys, extended with prefix, right? So you got all the information that you might want to know about those naming conventions and how to identify your files. Again, you're not forced to do that, but it is suggested that you do, especially if you intend to use other people's scripts to speed things up. All right. So now we have our state key registered but undelegated yet. So next time we will create, what I would like to do eventually, if you guys catch up, I would love to do a multi-signature drep all together, and we're going to vote on something all together. That'd be great, like all of us. And I'm going to require all signing keys witness for this. So if a single one of you guys didn't make it, we're not gonna do it. We won't be able to submit a vote. So we're gonna make sure that everyone's there and no one's left behind.
Look at you making sure people come back to your workshops.
Yes, well, there's some. That's correct, but I'm hoping to do it in the same session. So probably the creation part of the script and everything, including the vote, is gonna have to be done in the same workshop, which is gonna be a tight one. But anyway.
Let's just hope nobody has to dip out for a second or go away to something else.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll have to start again. But I'm sure we'll start again if that's the case.
Well, yeah, I'll
well.
try to figure this out. So yeah, thank you for coming, guys.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, man, it was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome to do this all the time. It's crazy.
And if you have any questions, again, there's the Central Testnet channel of this Discord. Go ahead, just do like Bob did. Really appreciate it. We can always answer those questions, and sometimes you don't know. Other people might have the same questions and are too shy to ask it. So go ahead and just spam the channel. I don't mind. This is what it's for. Ask your questions. There's no stupid questions. So that's it. Have a great evening, and I'm finishing this right now. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Thank you, John.